He walked into the bakery to order a wedding cake for another woman. He never expected to see the face of the wife he abandoned 5 years ago. He definitely never expected the little girl gripping her hand. The glass door chimed as Minjay pushed it open and the scent of vanilla and warm sugar hit him immediately. He paused. One polished shoe inside the bakery, the other still on the sidewalk. His men waited by the black SUV outside, confused. In 12 years of leading one of Seoul's most feared criminal organizations, Minjay had never personally chosen anything for his weddings, his galas, his private events. That was what assistants were for. But today something had pulled him here. Something he could not name. The bakery was small. Too small for a man whose name made generals nervous. The walls were cream-colored, lined with photos of smiling customers and handwritten thank you notes. A chalkboard menu hung crookedly near the register. Classical music played softly from a speaker somewhere. The kind of place that had no business existing in the same world he occupied. And then he saw her. She stood behind the counter, her back to him, tying an apron around her waist. Her hair was pulled into a simple bun, shorter than he remembered. Her skin deep and warm, catching the afternoon light like amber. She turned, reaching for something on the shelf. And Minjay's breath stopped. Zara! She had not noticed him yet. She was humming, completely absorbed in arranging pastries in the display case. Minjay's hand tightened on the door handle. 5 years. It had been 5 years since she walked out of his life without explanation, without a forwarding address, without a single word. After the divorce papers arrived he should have left. He should have turned around, gotten back in the car, and had his secretary handle this like a normal person in his position would. But his feet would not move. Then Zara looked up. Their eyes met across the small space and Minjay watched the color drain from her face. The small notepad in her hand slipped, hitting the counter with a soft thud. For 3 seconds neither of them moved. Neither of them breathed. Minjay, she whispered. Before he could respond, before he could form words around the shock lodged in his throat, a child's laughter rang out from the back room. Small feet pounded against the floor and a little girl burst through the doorway behind the counter, her pigtails bouncing as she ran. Mommy, Mommy, I finished the drawing. The child clutched a piece of paper covered in crayon marks, her face bright with pride. She could not have been more than 4 years old. She wore a yellow dress with white flowers and her skin was a beautiful blend, lighter than Zara's but carrying the same warm undertones. But it was her eyes that made Minjay's world tilt violently on its axis. Almond-shaped, dark, unmistakably Korean, unmistakably his. The little girl stopped when she noticed the stranger in her mother's bakery. She pressed closer to Zara's leg, suddenly shy, peeking out at Minjay with curious eyes that reflected his own face back at him. Lana, sweetheart, go back to the playroom for just a moment. Okay. Zara's voice was steady but Minjay heard the tremor underneath. He had always been able to hear it. Even when she tried to hide her fear, her hurt, her anger. But I wanted to show you. I will come see it in just a minute. I promise. Zara's hand shook as she smoothed her daughter's hair. Go on now. Lana obeyed, but not before glancing back at Minjay one more time. Something in her expression. A tilt of her head. A curiosity in her gaze. It was him. It was undeniably him. The door to the back room closed. The classical music continued playing. Outside a car honked. And Minjay stood frozen in the small bakery, staring at the woman he had loved and lost, knowing that everything he thought he understood about the past 5 years had just shattered. How long were you going to keep this from me? His voice came out barely above a whisper. Zara's jaw tightened. She picked up the notepad she had dropped, her movements careful and controlled. You need to leave. That child. You need to leave Minjay. Her voice was stronger now but he saw her hand shaking. You have no right to come in here. No right. The words exploded from him, louder than he intended. Years of discipline, of maintaining perfect control in every negotiation, every threat, every crisis. It all evaporated. I have a daughter and you never told me. Lower your voice. Zara's eyes flashed. And there was the fire he remembered. The strength that had first drawn him to her at that international charity summit 7 years ago, when she had challenged his foundation's approach in front of a room full of powerful people and made him rethink everything. This is my place of business and you will not cause a scene. A scene? Minjay laughed. A harsh sound that hurt his own throat. You disappeared. You left me with papers and silence and now I find out I have a... He stopped, unable to finish the sentence. The enormity of it was crushing him. Zara set down the notepad very carefully. When she looked at him again her eyes were dry but hard. You want to do this now? Fine. But not here. Not where she can hear. When then? Another 5 years? The bakery closes at 6. Come to the back entrance at 6:30. She turned away, busying herself with rearranging pastries that did not need rearranging. And Minjay, come alone. No soldiers. No lieutenants. No one from your mother's circle. The mention of his mother landed like a physical blow. Minjay's hands clenched into fists at his sides. My mother has nothing to do with. 6:30, Zara's voice was final. Or don't come at all. Minjay stood there a moment longer. His heart pounding so hard he could feel it in his temples. Through the window to the back room he could see a flash of yellow. Lana's dress as she moved around, probably playing. His daughter. He had a daughter. And she did not even know who he was. He turned and walked out of the bakery. The chime above the door sounding obscenely cheerful. His most trusted lieutenant straightened as Minjay approached the SUV, concern flickering across his professionally neutral expression. Sir. The cake order. Drive. Minjay's voice was flat. Just drive. As the car pulled away from the curb Minjay looked back through the tinted window. Zara stood in the bakery doorway watching him leave. Even from this distance, even through the glass, he could see the rigid set of her shoulders. The way she hugged her arms around herself. He had seen her stand like that once before. The day she left him. The car merged into Seoul's afternoon traffic and Minjay leaned his head back against the leather seat, closing his eyes. His mind was racing. Fragments of memory colliding with the present. Trying to calculate. To understand. 4 years old. Maybe 5. Which meant Zara had been pregnant when she left. Pregnant when his mother had summoned her to that private meeting at the compound. When the accusations had started flying. When the fabricated evidence had appeared showing Zara passing information to a rival organization. When the underbosses had demanded her removal from Minjay's life as a condition of his continued leadership. Pregnant. When Minjay had stood in his office looking down at the divorce papers she had signed without contest. Telling himself she must have been guilty all along. That if she truly loved him she would have fought harder. That her silence was proof of her betrayal. His phone buzzed. The 10th message from his fiancée, Park Seo-yan. The wedding was in 3 weeks. The guest list numbered 437, including heads of every major organization in Seoul and 2 officials whose cooperation kept his operations running smoothly. The alliance between his organization and her father's had already been formalized. Minjay looked at the screen at Seo-yan's name and felt nothing. He had felt nothing when he proposed 6 months ago. Nothing when they posed for engagement photos. Nothing when she had shown him venue samples. His mother had arranged everything as she always did. And he had agreed as he always did. Because it made sense. Because marriage to Seo-yan meant stability, expansion, protection. Because Zara was gone and he had taught himself not to feel anything at all. But now. Sir. His driver's voice interrupted. Where should I take you? Minjay opened his eyes. The afternoon stretched ahead, full of meetings he needed to cancel, calls he needed to make, a life he needed to examine honestly for the first time in years. Take me to the compound. And clear my schedule for tonight. His lieutenant shifted in the front seat. Sir. You have the alliance dinner at 8. Your mother specifically requested your presence. The Choi family will be there and... Clear it. Minjay's tone left no room for argument. Tell them I am unavailable. Tell them whatever you need to. My evening is not available. He had 6 hours until 6:30. 6 hours to prepare for a conversation that terrified him more than any rival, any betrayal, any threat he had ever faced across a table or down the barrel of a gun. 6 hours until he had to face the truth about what he had lost, and what he might have just found. The afternoon crawled by with excruciating slowness. Minjay sat in his office at the compound, soul spread out beneath him. He had built this. Every alliance, every territory, every carefully maintained balance of power. He had sacrificed everything for this. Everything except the one thing that had actually mattered. His assistant knocked softly. "Sir, Mrs. Khan is on line 1. Minjay's jaw tightened. His mother. Of course she had heard about the cancelled dinner. Tell her I will call her back. She has been quite insistent, sir. This is her 4th call. I said I will call her back." His assistant bowed quickly and retreated. Minjay turned his chair to face the window. Somewhere out there in a small bakery in a neighborhood he had never had reason to visit, his daughter was playing, drawing pictures, living a life he knew nothing about. His phone buzzed again. His mother calling directly. He declined it. She called again immediately. And again. On the 4th call he answered. "Where are you?" His mother's voice was crisp, controlled, imperious. "The dinner is in 3 hours and Seoyan's mother is calling me because you have cancelled everything and your assistant will not explain why. I am taking the evening for personal matters." A pause. When his mother spoke again her voice had dropped to the dangerous quiet he knew well. "What personal matters could possibly be more important than your obligations right now? The Choi alliance is fragile. Your absence will be seen as weakness. It will raise questions, Minjay. Let them ask questions." "Excuse me," I said, "let them ask questions. I am not attending tonight." He stood, pacing to the window. Far below his men moved through the compound grounds. Everyone with a purpose. Everyone loyal to a structure he had built on a foundation he was only now beginning to question. "This is unacceptable. Whatever you think you are doing." I saw Zara today. The silence on the other end was absolute. Minjay could picture his mother in her sitting room, the same room where she had told him 5 years ago that Zara was a liability, a weakness, a woman with no place in their world who would get him killed or exposed before she was done. When she finally spoke her voice was ice. "That woman has no place in your life anymore. Whatever she wants, whatever she is planning, she has a child." A pause. "A daughter. 4, maybe 5 years old." Another pause. Longer this time. "What are you implying?" "I am not implying anything. I am telling you I have a daughter I never knew about." Minjay's reflection stared back at him from the window, his face pale. "She has my eyes, mother. My exact eyes. Zara was pregnant when she left. When you accused her. When you made her sign those papers, I saved your position. I saved this organization from a vulnerability that could have destroyed everything your father built. You destroyed my marriage. I saved you from a disastrous mistake." His mother's composure cracked slightly. "That woman was never appropriate for your world. A foreigner with no understanding of what we are, what we do. She would have been used against you. She would have been a target. I was protecting you, so you destroyed her instead. I protected you, as I always have, as I always will." Her breathing was sharp now, controlled fury barely contained. "And if this child exists, if by some chance she is biologically related to you, it changes nothing. You have a wedding in 3 weeks to a woman who is actually suited to stand beside you. You have responsibilities, obligations, an alliance that keeps this organization safe. I have a daughter." Minjay closed his eyes. "And I am going to meet her properly tonight. If you pursue this you will fracture everything. The Choi family will see it as instability. Seo Yan's father will pull the alliance. Your underbosses will question your judgment. Is that what you want? To watch your father's legacy collapse because of a woman who... I am done with this conversation, mother. Minjay, I am warning you, I will see you when I see you. He ended the call before she could respond. His hands were shaking. In 36 years he had never hung up on his mother, never directly defied her. The power she held over him, over the organization, over every decision he had made since his father died and placed the weight of everything on his shoulders. It had always been absolute. Until now. Until he had seen Lana's eyes looking up at him from behind Zara's leg. He sat for a long time after that call. Longer than he expected. Because the truth was he did not feel like a man who had just made a decision. He felt like a man standing at the edge of something with no guarantee of what was on the other side. He had built his entire life on calculated moves. On knowing the odds before he committed. On never walking into a situation he could not control. This was different. Lana did not know him. Zara did not trust him. And every instinct he had sharpened over 12 years of leading dangerous men through dangerous situations was telling him that wanting something was not the same as deserving it. He stayed in his chair. Phone face down on the desk. The compound quiet around him. What if he showed up at 6:30 and Zara was right? What if he made promises he did not have the strength to keep? What if his mother found another way to reach them? What if the life he led made them less safe, not more? He sat with those questions for a long time. And then he thought about Lana holding out that crayon drawing with her whole face lit up. He thought about a little girl asking for bedtime stories about a father who lived far away. He stood up, put on his coat, and left. At 6:15 Minjay's driver dropped him 2 blocks from the bakery. He walked the rest of the way. His collar turned up against the evening chill. The streets here were quieter than the districts he usually moved through. Small shops lined the sidewalk. A bookstore. A flower shop. A restaurant with handwritten specials in the window. The kind of neighborhood where a person could disappear. Could build a life away from everything. The bakery's main entrance was dark. The closed sign facing out. Minjay walked around to the alley behind the building where a single steel door glowed under a small light above it. He knocked. The door opened almost immediately, as if Zara had been waiting on the other side. She had changed out of her apron into jeans and a simple sweater, her hair loose around her shoulders. She looked tired. Beautiful and tired and guarded in a way that made his chest ache. "Come in," she said quietly. The back room was small. Boxes of supplies stacked against one wall. But the other side held a small table with coloring books, a bin of toys, and children's drawings taped to the wall. Minjay recognized the yellow dress from earlier hanging on a hook near the door. "She is with a friend tonight," Zara said, following his gaze. "I thought it would be better if we talked alone first." Minjay nodded. Now that he was here. Now that Zara stood 3 feet away from him in the place she had built without him, he did not know where to start. There were too many questions, too much silence to break through. Zara moved to a small counter with a coffee maker. "Do you still drink it black?" "Yes." She poured 2 cups and handed him one. Her fingers did not touch his, but he caught her scent. Vanilla and sugar and something else. Something that was just Zara. And the memories hit him so hard he had to set the cup down before he dropped it. "When?" he asked. "When did you know?" Zara leaned against the counter, both hands wrapped around her mug. "I found out 3 days after your mother called me into that meeting. 3 days after I signed the divorce papers. 3 days. Minjay felt his knees weaken. "You did not tell me. How could I?" Zara's voice was steady but her eyes were bright with unshed tears. "Your mother made it very clear what would happen if I stayed in your life. She showed me the fabricated evidence. She showed me how easily she could destroy my name. And then she told me that if I was carrying your child she would make sure the child never had a future. Not in this country. Not anywhere she could reach. She threatened our baby. She said she would ensure any child I had with you would be labeled illegitimate. That the scandal of your divorce and my so-called betrayal would follow her forever. That no school would be safe. No future would be clean. Zara's voice finally broke. She said the only way to protect your child was to disappear. To let you believe there was no child at all. Minjay sank into one of the small chairs at the children's table, his head in his hands. I would have protected you. Both of you. No, Zara's words were soft but certain. You would have tried. But Minjay, you could not protect me when it was just accusations. When your mother showed you that fabricated evidence. When the underbosses demanded my removal. You believed them over me. You asked me to explain myself once. One conversation with your mother's people present. And when I could not prove a negative. When I could not prove I had not done something I had never done. You accepted their version. Zara set down her coffee cup. You chose them over me. What made you think you would choose differently when it came to our child? The truth of it was crushing. Minjay remembered that day. That conversation. He remembered the doubt that had crept in when Zara could not provide an alibi for every minute the files had allegedly been passed. He remembered his mother's calm, reasonable voice pointing out that love could blind a person. That sometimes the people we trust most are the ones who betray us. He had wanted Zara to fight harder. To rage. To refuse to leave until she had cleared her name. Instead she had gone quiet. She had signed the papers. She had walked out of his life without looking back. And he had let her go. I was pregnant. Alone. And terrified. Zara continued. Your mother had made it clear she had the power and the will to reach us anywhere. So I took what money I had saved. I left Seoul. And I built a life where Lana would be safe. Where she could grow up without that shadow over her. For 5 years. Minjay looked up at her. For 5 years you have been raising our daughter alone. Yes. Why did you come back to Seoul? I did not want to, but my mother got sick last year. She lives 20 minutes from here. I needed to be close. Zara's expression softened slightly. And Lana deserves to know her grandmother. The one grandmother who actually wants to know her. The barb landed. Minjay absorbed it without flinching. What have you told Lana about me? That her father is a man who lives far away. That sometimes adults make complicated choices. Zara pulled a chair out and sat across from him. She is 4 years old, Minjay. She asks sometimes. But she does not fully understand yet what it means not to have a father around. I want to know her. The words came out desperate. I want to be part of her life. Why? Zara's eyes were hard now. Because she is yours. Because it wounds your pride that I kept her from you. Because she is my daughter. Minjay's voice rose. Because I have lost 5 years already and I do not want to lose anymore. And what about your wedding? Your fiancé? Your mother's alliance plans? Zara leaned forward. Lana is not a secret you can keep, Minjay. If you acknowledge her. If you are part of her life. Everyone will know. Your mother. Your underbosses. Every person who has ever wanted leverage over you. They will use her. They will use me. The weight of that landed differently coming from her. Because she was right. In his world knowledge was a weapon. A daughter. An ex-wife. They were not complications. They were targets. Let them come. Minjay stood, the small chair scraping against the floor. Let them try. You did not care 5 years ago when it mattered. Zara stood too, her voice rising to match his. You did not care when I needed you to believe in me. To stand up to your mother. To choose our marriage over your organization. But now that there is a child you can claim. Now you suddenly do not care what it costs. I was wrong. The admission tore out of him. I was wrong 5 years ago. I was a coward who valued control over trust. Who believed lies because they were easier than facing the truth. I let my mother manipulate me. I let them intimidate me. I let you walk away because some part of me was too proud to fight for you. And I have regretted it every single day since. Zara's breath caught. Tears spilled over, running down her cheeks. Do you know what it was like? Do you know what it was like to love you so much it physically hurt? To carry your child inside me knowing I would never see you again. To tell our daughter bedtime stories about a father who lived far away, knowing she would probably never meet him. Then let me meet her now. Minjay stepped closer. Let me try to be the father she deserves. And when your mother threatens her again, Zara's voice cracked. When your rivals find out she exists and decide she is useful. When the cost of claiming her becomes too high. What will you choose then, Minjay? Will you choose Lana? Or will you choose the same things you chose 5 years ago? The question hung between them, heavy and terrible. Through the wall Minjay could hear the hum of the refrigerator units, the distant sound of traffic. The drawings on the wall seemed to watch him, all those moments he had missed, all those firsts he had not been there for. I will choose her, he said finally. Whatever it costs, whatever I have to give up, I will choose her. You do not know what you are saying. You do not know what you would be giving up. I know I have already given up 5 years. I know I have missed her first steps, her first words, 4 birthdays. I know I have a wedding scheduled to a woman I do not love because it makes good strategic sense. I know my entire life is built on compromises and calculations and I have nothing real to show for any of it. Minjay's voice dropped to a whisper. None of it has ever meant anything without you. Zara closed her eyes. When she opened them they were red but dry. I cannot trust you with her heart, Minjay. I cannot trust you not to hurt her the way you hurt me. Then do not trust me. Not yet. But let me try. Let me prove that I can be the man I should have been 5 years ago. And your wedding. There will not be a wedding. Your mother. My mother does not control my life anymore. Minjay pulled out his phone. Without hesitating he typed a message to Seo Yan. I am sorry. I cannot marry you. The wedding is cancelled. He hit send before he could second guess it. There. It is done. Zara stared at him. You just cancelled your wedding by text message. Seo Yan does not love me. She loves the alliance. The position. The power. She will be angry about the embarrassment but she will not be heartbroken. His phone immediately started buzzing. He silenced it. The only woman whose heart I ever broke was yours. And I am asking for the chance to make it right. This is insane. You are throwing everything away on a chance. I am choosing my daughter. I am choosing the possibility of being her father. If that is insane then I do not want to be sane. Zara turned away, her shoulders shaking. Minjay wanted to reach for her, to comfort her, but he had lost that right years ago. So he stood there, letting the weight of everything they had lost fill the small room. After a long moment she spoke. Her voice thick. She likes strawberries. She is allergic to shellfish. She has nightmares sometimes about monsters under the bed and the only thing that helps is when I sing to her. She is learning to read and her favorite books are about dragons. She is shy around new people but once she trusts you she talks non-stop. Minjay's throat tightened. Thank you. I am not saying yes. Zara turned back to face him. I am saying I will think about it. I will talk to Lana. Prepare her. And if I decide to let you into her life it will be slow. It will be on my terms. And the first moment you choose anything over her well-being, the first time she cries because of you, I will take her somewhere you will never find us. Do you understand? I understand. Go home, Minjay. Deal with the chaos you just created. Figure out what your life looks like now. And when you are sure, when you are absolutely certain you can handle the consequences of claiming her, call me. She pulled a business card from her pocket, wrote a number on the back, and pressed it into his palm. Her fingers warm against his skin. There and gone in a heartbeat. Minjay closed his hand around the card. Can I ask you one more thing? What? Her name. Lana. Why did you choose it? Zara's smile was sad. It means light. After everything that happened. After all the darkness. I needed her to be light. Minjay nodded, unable to speak around the emotion clogging his throat. He walked to the door, then paused with his hand on the handle. I loved you, Zara. I never stopped. I know. Her voice was barely a whisper. That is what made it so hard to leave. He stepped out into the alley, into the cold evening air. Behind him the door closed with a soft click. His phone was vibrating non-stop now. Calls from his mother, from Seoul, from his lieutenant, from underbosses. The explosion had begun. Minjay looked at the business card in his hand. Tomorrow his mother would wage war. Tomorrow the alliance would fracture. Tomorrow everything he had built would be tested in ways he could not fully predict. But tonight he had the phone number of the woman he had loved and lost. And somewhere in this city his daughter was being tucked into bed, probably asking for a story about a father who lived far away. Minjay pulled out his phone and made one call before the deluge. Sir, his most trusted lawyer's voice was alert despite the late hour. I need you to investigate something from 5 years ago. Evidence that was presented against a woman named Zara. Accusations of passing information to a rival organization. I want to know who fabricated it, who gave the orders, who knew about it. And I want documentation of every threat that was made to her before she left Seoul. Sir, if this investigation leads back to, I do not care whose names come up. Get me the truth. All of it. He ended the call and started walking, not toward the compound, not toward his mother's estate, just walking, through the quiet streets past small shops and families heading home from dinner, past a life he had never allowed himself to imagine. By the time he reached his car 2 blocks away he had 47 missed calls. He got in and finally answered one. Minjay. His mother's voice was terrifyingly calm. We need to talk. Yes, we do. Tomorrow. The compound. 10 a.m. The Choi family is furious. Seo Yan's father has already contacted me. You have humiliated everyone involved, and for what? A woman who disappeared and a child who might not even be yours. She is mine. You cannot know that. I know. His voice was still. And Zara never betrayed me. You made sure I believed she had. But you were wrong. Or you were lying. Either way it ends now. If you pursue this path you will lose the Choi alliance. You will lose the respect of every underboss who has stood by this organization for decades. You will be seen as unstable, compromised, led by emotion rather than reason. I am not asking your permission, mother. I am informing you of my decision. I have a daughter. I am going to know her. I am going to be her father. And if that costs me my position, then that is the cost. The silence stretched out. When his mother spoke again her voice had changed. Not softer, but different. Calculating. You truly care about this child. She is my daughter. Then you understand what I was trying to protect you from. The complications. The vulnerability. A child is a weakness in our world, Minjay. She becomes a target. Everyone who wants to reach you will go through her first. I was trying to spare you that. You were trying to preserve your idea of the perfect heir, the perfect organization. You were not thinking about what I wanted, what I needed. I am your mother. Everything I have ever done, everything you do is about control, about maintaining the Khan legacy at any cost. But I am done paying that cost, mother. I am done sacrificing real things for the appearance of strength. He ended the call before she could respond. His hands were shaking, adrenaline coursing through him. In one evening he had dismantled his entire constructed life. The wedding, the merger, his relationship with his mother, possibly his standing in the organization. And yet, he felt lighter than he had in 5 years. The next morning Minjay walked into the emergency meeting at the compound an hour before it was scheduled to start. His mother was already there. 3 senior underbosses beside her. They looked up as he entered, their expressions ranging from concern to hostile. We need to discuss your recent actions, his mother began. No, Minjay said calmly. You need to listen. He laid the folder his lawyer had delivered at 6 a.m. on the table. 5 years ago a woman named Zara was accused of passing information to a rival organization. She was shown fabricated evidence. She was threatened. And she was forced to disappear quietly or watch her unborn child's future be destroyed. He opened the folder. My lawyer has begun pulling the original communications. What we have so far points directly back to this compound. To this room. The room went very quiet. There is more coming. And when it is complete, every piece of documentation will be secured with 3 separate lawyers. If anything happens to me, to Zara, or to my daughter, everything becomes public. Every communication, every order, every name. Minjay, his mother's voice was low and dangerous. You are making serious allegations against the people who have protected this organization for. I am stating facts. Facts that are being documented as we speak. Minjay looked around the room, meeting every pair of eyes. I have a daughter I never knew about because she was threatened out of existence before she was born. I am acknowledging her publicly. I am having Zara's name formally cleared. And I am making it clear that anyone who moves against my family will answer for it. One of the underbosses, Mr. Song, leaned forward. The exposure risk is real, and it is mine to carry. Minjay said. I am not asking the organization to absorb this. I am telling you how things are going to be. The Choi Alliance is dead, another voice said. Then it is dead. His mother stood, her chair scraping against the floor. If you do this you are on your own. I will not protect you from what comes next. I know. Minjay held her gaze. I am counting on standing on my own for once. She walked out, her heels sharp against the floor. The remaining men looked at each other. Then at Minjay. Mr. Song spoke first. We will need to manage this carefully. We will. I will handle it personally. Minjay closed the folder. But my daughter's existence is not a secret this organization keeps. Not anymore. At lunch he called the number on the card. Zara answered on the 3rd ring. It is me. I told them. I confronted my mother. I am acknowledging Lana publicly. A long pause. Are you sure? I have never been more sure of anything in my life. Another pause. He could hear her breathing, could imagine her standing in her bakery, trying to decide if she could trust him. If the man on the phone was the same man who had let her walk away 5 years ago or someone new. Lana has swimming lessons tomorrow at 4, she said finally. At the community center on Oak Street. If you want to watch. If you want to meet her properly. Be there at 3:30. We will talk to her together first. I will be there. Minjay. Yes. Do not make me regret this. The call ended. Minjay sat looking out at Seoul spread below him. And for the first time in 5 years he felt something like hope. The next afternoon Minjay arrived at the community center at 3:15. 15 minutes early. He had changed clothes 3 times, finally settling on jeans and a simple sweater. The most ordinary thing he owned. He left his men at the compound, drove himself, parked 2 blocks away and walked. Zara was already there by the entrance. Lana beside her in a pink swimsuit with a unicorn on it, a towel clutched in her small hands. When Lana saw him approaching she pressed closer to her mother. Mommy, it is the man from the bakery. I know, sweetheart. Zara crouched down to Lana's eye level. Remember how we talked this morning about your daddy? Lana nodded, her eyes wide. This is him. This is your daddy. He has come to watch you swim today. Minjay's knees almost buckled, hearing the words spoken aloud, seeing Lana's eyes widen with understanding. It was overwhelming. You are my daddy. Lana's voice was tiny, uncertain. Minjay crouched down too, making himself smaller, less intimidating. Yes, I am. And I am very, very happy to meet you properly, Lana. Mommy said you lived far away. I did. But not anymore. I want to be close. If that is okay with you. Lana studied him with those eyes that were so like his own. Then with the devastating directness of a 4-year-old she asked, "Why did you not come before?" Minjay glanced at Zara, who gave him a small nod. Permission to answer honestly. "Because I made a mistake," he said softly. "A big mistake. I did not know you existed. And when I found out I came as fast as I could." "Oh." Lana processed this. "Are you going to leave again?" "No, I am going to stay. I am going to be here for every swimming lesson, every birthday, every time you want to show me a drawing or tell me a story. If you will let me." Lana looked at her mother again. Zara's eyes were bright with tears, but she was smiling. "It is up to you, baby. Do you want Daddy to watch you swim today?" Lana thought about it for a long moment. Then she held out her hand to Minjay. "Okay. But you have to sit in the special seats for families." Minjay took her small hand in his, and something in his chest cracked wide open. "I will sit wherever you want me to sit." They walked into the community center together. Zara on one side, Minjay on the other. Lana between them chattering about how she could swim 5 whole strokes now without stopping. Minjay listened to every word, memorizing her voice. The way she swung their joined hands as she walked. At the pool, Lana ran off to join her class. Minjay and Zara sat on the bleachers watching her jump into the water with a splash that made the instructor laugh. "She is amazing," Minjay whispered. "She is." Zara's voice was soft. "Minjay, I need you to understand something. This does not mean we are back together. This does not mean I have forgiven everything that happened. I know, but you deserve to know your daughter. And she deserves to know her father. So we are going to figure this out. One day at a time. One day at a time." Minjay agreed. They sat in silence watching Lana kick her way across the pool, her instructor cheering her on. And when Lana looked up at the bleachers searching, and her face lit up when she saw both of them there watching her, Minjay knew he had made the right choice. He had given up his wedding, possibly his standing, his mother's approval, his carefully constructed life. But in return he had gotten this. A little girl with his eyes and her mother's strength, swimming in a community pool, waving at him like he had hung the moon. It was, Minjay thought, the best trade he had ever made. When the lesson ended, Lana bounded over dripping wet, proud of herself for swimming 7 strokes instead of 5. She showed Minjay the gold star her instructor had given her, and he admired it like it was the most important thing he had ever been shown. "Can Daddy come to ice cream after?" Lana asked Zara. Zara looked at Minjay, a question in her eyes. He nodded. "Daddy can come to ice cream." And so Minjay found himself in a small ice cream shop watching his daughter debate between chocolate and strawberry before choosing strawberry with rainbow sprinkles. They sat at a small table and Lana told him about her favorite books, her best friend from preschool, the cat she wanted to get someday. Minjay listened to every word, aware that his phone was probably full of messages, that the statement he had released that morning was causing chaos across the organization, that his mother was already planning her next move, that the life he had known was restructuring itself around him whether he was watching or not. But none of it mattered. Not right now. Right now he was eating ice cream with his daughter, watching her get rainbow sprinkles on her nose, listening to Zara laugh as Lana told a rambling story about a dragon who loved cupcakes. Right now he was exactly where he was supposed to be. And for a man who had spent 12 years controlling everything, there was something quietly powerful about finally choosing to let something simply be. If you have made it to the end of this story, please take a moment to hit that subscribe button and leave a comment about what you thought of Minjay's journey. Give this video a like. It really helps us create more stories like this one. Thank you for watching. And remember, sometimes the greatest strength we have is the courage to choose what actually matters. See you in the next story.